All right. Welcome back for the first time in 3 years, the Seven Deadly Sins anime review, episode number 56. Yep. Excuse me. I did not think this series would come back at all. No, this was not pre planned. Now, the thing is, I initially ended because I did not know there was going to be a sequel series or more movies. I didn't know that. I thought when the series ended, it was over. Done. Over with. But I kind of knew about this movie, but I never watched it because I figured I had plenty of time. And then I heard the series getting a sequel, which I will be discussing that 2 episodes from now, which is Seven Deadly Sins, Four Nights of the Apocalypse. That will come in episode number 58. Don't worry about that. Actually, no. 59, because the next two movies are a two-part movie. Yep, they're technically four movies. Now, I'm discussing first the second movie, which this video is like the second movie, which is called The Cursed Light. Which apparently, from what I read, apparently in Japan, this was released 1 month after the series ended. Yep, and apparently this takes place halfway through the final episode. Makes sense. Yeah, so I should point out though, there are 4 characters in this movie who do nothing. They show up, they're there witnesses, but they really don't interact with the plot at all. Before I talk about the movie itself, let's talk about these characters who do practically nothing in this whole movie. First being Merlin and Arthur Pendragon. Basically, Arthur is still missing his arm from the end of the series. When Cat ate his arm, when he turned evil, ate his arm, because he had the power of chaos magic, and he basically is putting stones in this area where supposedly Camelot was destroyed, and then they're attacked by the fairies and the giants. So these are possessed. We'll get to that soon. We later see, by the way, Merlin still has the little burn mark on her lips, like around her chin area. She got that when she kissed Escanor toward the end, the penultimate stork of the entire series. The stork they kill off the Demon King, which they reference here in the movie too. Which I find that to be interesting. We then see Merlin later on in the movie, where she is just witnessing this. And then the whole thing is like the end of the gods, which I'll get to the plot in a minute. Begin the age of humans and chaos. And that's whole involvement of the entire movie. Merlin, who's only seen 3 times, does practically nothing, says some lines, and that was it. Yes. It's kind of weird, though, for a character who was fairly important to the main series. And this movie practically just basically makes her a minor character. Yes, Merlin, one of the 7 deadly sins. Yeah, she was tasked to watch Arthur. She could at least help out. Nope. Stay in the sidelines. Hawk, the series mascot. He appears twice the entire movie. He appears once with his brother Wild, and he appears one other time toward the end. By the way, all the voice actors stayed the same. From what I can tell, nobody changed. Everybody pretty much stayed the same who basically is here in the movie. So the movie starts out with basically we have, after a recap of the show, we also briefly hear Escanor one last time, though it's a flashback, and once again, he's played by Kyle Herbert, which, thank you, Netflix, for keeping him on as Escanor, because he is an excellent Escanor. He is an absolute fantastic character, and my personal favorite character of the entire series. It was sad to see him go, because he was he was such a vital character of the series. Yes, he was introduced like pretty much the end of season 1 of the anime. The manga did a great job with him. I think the anime did a great job with him too. Where he's very strong and he's very intelligent. He's a character that every time I saw him on screen, I enjoyed seeing him either in his muscular form or in his slim form. In the sub, for some reason, he's given 2 different voices. In the dub, it's the same voice. I don't know exactly why the sub has got 2 voices for. That's what it sounds like to me. But you gotta admit, basically, Kyle Herbert did an excellent job playing Escanor. And I thought that one character was Kyle, but nope, it was actually the actor from the show. By the way, Mel is in this movie too. he doesn't show up toward the very end of the movie. Like, he doesn't show up like halfway through the movie, which seems kind of odd, where he's basically on a platform raising up flowers, and then the other angels come by and make their plan. I'll get back to that, don't worry. So, we first see, explaining the flashback, that Meliodas, this is also shown in the main show, that Meliodas and Elizabeth visit all the places they basically had throughout their lifetime. They come across this particular waterfall, which when Elizabeth's reincarnation, she was a merchant's daughter. She fell off the waterfall, lost the luggage, and of course got wet. Spent time in a cave, and well, they drank some wine. She was stopped serving, and I am presuming these two maybe slept together in that cave. It is possible that's what happened, but and then we see Zeltros and Gilda. Yep, great to see these two, who, by the way, some of you may not know this. Bruce Papacook, who voices Meliodas, also voices Zeltros, which makes him the only guy in the whole series who does two roles. Yeah, as for the reason why he does this I don't know. I mean, the way he dresses is almost like he's the series version of Vegeta. The way his hair is, and the fact that he's such an rival with Meliodas, and the fact that Meliodas is like Goku, in a way. They're both very strong, they're very rivals with their brothers. And it's shown the fact that Gilda and Elizabeth, they get along great with each other. I'm surprised these... Now, here's the thing I didn't like with this movie. I kind of wish these two would get a little more time together on screen. Not like in a sexual manner. No, I'm not talking about that. Just talk to each other about their respective loves. The fact that they both love these two brothers. And the fact these two have an interesting taste in women. Where they're very tall... and they got a big chest. And I remember in the series where Meliodas is like, "Oh, Zeltros, you're a breast man, aren't you?" Yeah, that I thought was so funny. And by the way, that was Bruce Papacook saying that. I thought that was so funny. It is by far one of the funniest lines of season 4. Basically, Meliodas calling his brother a breast man. Probably because he loves sleeping in those wonderful pillows that is Gilda's chest. Kind of like how Meliodas is kind of the same thing with Elizabeth. I'm surprised he doesn't grope her like basically that Meliodas likes to Elizabeth, or flip her skirt like Meliodas does. Yeah. So like they're eating fish. Meanwhile, though, over in the Fairy King's forest, King and Diane are getting married. Yes, they're getting married, and apparently off screen, that Bond and Elaine got married. Apparently, Elaine does not want the same type of ceremony that her brother has, which I'm thinking that's kind of weird. Why the heck would she say that for? And in case you're curious, though, is that Brandon Knickerbocker voicing Elaine, the same woman who voiced her in the series? Yep. They kept basically her voice actor. Let's go through the voice cast this one. So, obviously, Bruce Papacook does Meliodas and Zeltros. That's obvious. Erica Hatcher does Elizabeth, Hawk, Christina V, Diane, Erica Mendez. Bond, Benjamin Diskin does a great job voicing. He has a great time in this movie. King is voiced by Maximin, which I met this guy. Great guy, main person. Gother, Eric Scott Kramer. Merlin, Lauren Linda, of course that's Scott Herbert. Gilda, Amanda Lee Connors. Wild is by Mike McFarlane. Mel. Dave Vincent. Delhad. David Matthew Rudd. He's basically one of the villains in the movie, along with Dubs, who's voiced by Dave Mills. Now, the main villain in this movie, I'll reveal her a little bit later, because it is somebody who's been mentioned the whole series, has seen flashback, but she's never spoke on screen. This film is her only speaking appearance the entire franchise. I'll get to her. So basically, they're getting married, and then all of a sudden, possessed fairies and giants show up saying, "The 7 deadly sins ruined the holy war. You ruined the game." We also see in Demon Realm, we see, well, Dubs, who is basically the giant craftsman, and Delha, who is the second Fairy King. He's also bigger than the first one. Yes. By the way, the first Fairy King sister is in this movie, though she plays a minor role. And she has a past with one of the characters who looked like he was trying to turn into a villain. And he kind of indirectly responsible for basically causing her to lose her legs. Yeah. Let's see if we can find out basically about the first Demon King. It's, Galaxana. That's his name. His sister is Gerdhade. That's her name. Yeah, she lost her eye and her legs. Yeah, she used to have legs, but they were cut off. I think the bear that King has is basically somebody that she once knew. Yep, I was right. Basically, King's like pet is actually incarnation of this guy. Yeah, she appears in the movie very briefly. So pretty much in the way, basically like, and also we see the possessed fairies and giants attacking the kingdom of Leonis. We're attacking Julia and Jericho, who play minor roles. I don't find these two not playing big of a roles in the movie because they were some big supporting characters, but they're not particularly the focus characters in the movie. So, yeah, and of course, they mentioned with the second Fairy King, who ends up conquering the demon realm, like destroying the cast. Well, basically, he kills this one demon who tried to poison him, and the poison had no effect on him, so he proceeded to slit her throat. And at first, they beat Meliodas and Elizabeth, but luckily enough, Zetro was basically him and Gilda. He basically used Dobbs' own magic to basically defeat both these two. And while dealing with everybody else, by the way, also Deanne's basically her surrogate mother is at the wedding, who still alive. This is missing a leg. Her husband is not there. Not sure why. And no, they did not basically get divorced. Nope, not really. Though for some reason the movie, some of the fairies for this movie who are appear a bit, for some reason they're a little bit in CG. I'm not really sure exactly why this is. Her name was Materna. Yes, she's kind of like a surrogate mother to. Oh yeah, and her husband is still, she's still married to him, but there's no mention exactly what happened to him. Yeah, so Gothor is there. He doesn't do much in the movie, despite being he's member of the Seven Deadly Sins. He basically frees the giants and the fairies pretty easily. And at one point, figure out it works, but it doesn't. Turns out it's the weapons that Dubs created. So after Bond basically uses Snatch Bill to snatch them all away, yep. Well, then they're freed, and it's like, oh yeah, they are fought beside, and of course, well, then of course, one Sack and Leonis are basically, well, they're free thanks to the Ford of the Seven Deadly Sins. And after, of course, basically that. So, the person behind all the brainwashing in this movie is none other than Elizabeth's original mother, the Supreme Deity. She's behind this. And apparently the Holy War thing was all a game to the Demon King, which they, of course, they had a little follow up here in the movie. When Zedros is basically just sees his people, and they ask him, and of course they ask him the question: is Demon King dead? Yes. And of course, basically he had Hannah's death, and he's like, "Why did you come back?" He says, he says to him to become Demon King and basically to make peace because the Holy War is over, and of course when they're fighting to have the rematch with when Zedros and Malleus fight against, well, the Second Fairy King and Dubs. During the battle, basically they're healed by Elizabeth. And like, oh, it's Bloody Ellie. And she's like, please don't call me that. I thought that was kind of funny. Like, they recognize her, but they don't know who Gilda is. With no surprise there. I'm surprised, basically, that Elizabeth doesn't say, oh yeah, this is Gilda. This is Zedros' girlfriend. And your future queen. Yep, I'm surprised, basically, she doesn't say that to them. Yeah. So, yeah, the whole thing is Supreme Deity. Okay, so somebody might be thinking, okay, so who is voicing the Supreme Deity in her first ever appearance speaking rise? A woman by the name of Rebecca Thomas, who does a really good job voicing her. Yes. Who apparently has done previous work in series I have never heard of before. Well, she was in Pokemon for like one episode. She was a character in the Promised Neverland series, was in Carol and Thursday. And this one only came out like 3 years ago, but I gotta say, for a villain, she did a really good job playing the Supreme Deity. Which we kind of see during the course of the fight. We kind of see her face. Yes, and for some reason, I'm not sure exactly why they did this, because I heard initially this movie was going to CG, so some of the fairies are in CG, and for some reason, the Supreme Deity is in CG. I don't get this at all. By the way, also Bond can withstand her attacks, thanks to his ability. And she's like, "Oh, you survived purgatory. Okay." So you have basically just Bond, Deanne, Gother, and King take him on for a while until basically the four show up. And they can withstand attack, no problem. First, Bond can withstand no problem thanks to his ability. And like, oh, it's just annoying her. And then all of a sudden, she does another attack. And then I hear first in the movie, full counter, which is Miller's one of his signature moves, and fires attack right back at her. And plus, one thing I love with this movie is they use the music from the show, which is this awesome, upbeat music, this rock music put in the show, which knows the fact that within this show, within the movie, you know the fact when you hear this music, like, oh yeah, Miller's gonna kick some ass, which he does, even though basically it's his future wife's mother. Which of course Elizabeth has no problem with that, given the fact how terrible a person she is. And basically, like, she's like covered in things to Elizabeth. And of course, Elizabeth kind of, in a way, publicly disowns her for being a terrible mother. And like, oh, you gave birth to me, but you never showed me any emotion. You basically like, whatever, basically she had a child. It's like she didn't freaking care. Well, that's kind of what she's saying here. And then basically, the Sons of Beavis Demon King basically destroy her with a big, humongous Tyrant Destroyer Slayer move, which was awesome. And that's basically, I get the reason why they had her in this movie, because in a way she was kind of a loose end from the show, because Demon King's gone. They have loose end with Arthur, and thinking, okay, so some might think, oh, maybe the arc after Chaos might be dealing with the Supreme Deity. Nope, we have a time skip. Do we deal with that? And then this movie actually has it. My guess is the writer probably planned on this, but probably didn't have time to because he was wrapping up the series. It is possible. The music of this movie is basically anything in the movie is called Sono Hakura no Saki. Great music. Now, some might be thinking, did the writer of the manga read this movie? No, he did not. I'm sure he probably helped produce it, per se. I'm sure he probably did. Oh, he did the story. Yes, the story he did. But screenplay basically was... By the way, the creator of the manga is Nabuka Suzuki. He did the story. The screenplay is now by Rintaro Ikedia. That's basically did the screenplay. The director is Takeaki Hamada. Which, aside from this movie, I have not seen anything else the guy worked on. Not really. No. You think, really? Have you seen nothing else the guy's worked on? No, I haven't. I gotta admit, he did a great job with this movie. High praise from me. And yes, the movie is produced by Studio Dean. The same... Oh, by the way, at the end of the movie, same people who did season 3 for the show, which I'll get to that later. So, basically, after the Supreme Deity is defeated, they have Elizabeth Meliodas' wedding, and of course, well, they have this funny bit here, it's like, blah, 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 and he just shoves the crowd through his head, right through it. It's so funny. And he's proclaimed the new king of Leonis, and Elizabeth being the new queen of Leonis. Batra is no longer the king because basically he's getting old. I mean, it shows the fact that Meliodas gets along great with the king of the former king, anyways, and the fact that he probably is one of like 2 people addressed by his first name. Because if you think about it, Batra himself, aside from Meliodas, the only person apparently addressed by his first name is Hawk. Nobody else is. That's something interesting, though. Probably because Melis is very close to the king, and probably also because he's dating his daughter. Well, now basically he's now part of the family. That's probably the reason why he's allowed to address him by his first name, because they're very close. That's my guess, anyways. But all in all, this was an amazing. Despite the CG, it was an amazing movie. And of course, basically, they had this funny bit after the credits where Melis and because they basically said, let's have a drink afterwards during the fight. So Melis and Zedros basically have a drink, and of course Melis asks Zedros, "Are you gonna marry her?" It's like, "Oh, because," and of course, basically, it's like, "Yeah, she's basically become his wife. No problem. Probably the way the demons do it." But what rank can I give this movie? I give it a 10 because it's amazing. Yep. Now, the thing is, when it comes to this very movie, well, actually, the Studio D. I remember when it was first announced, when this studio took over from A1 Pictures, the same company that gave us Fairy Tail and Ace Attorney, that people were upset by this. Some people were curious, why in the world would the show switch studios for? Like, why switch from A1 Pictures to Studio D? According to rumor, A1 Pictures has never said this publicly. The writer himself has never said this publicly, as far as I can tell. The people working on the team have never said this publicly. Studio Dean has never said this publicly. The rumor of the reason why they switched studios, and Netflix, I don't think Netflix had nothing to do with switching studios this one. They had nothing to do with it. So I do not blame them for this. Okay, the rumor of the reason why of the switch of studios from A1 Pictures to Studio Dean. The rumor of the reason why was because the first movie didn't do well at the box office, which was Prisoners of the Sky, which came out in 2018. Apparently, A1 Pictures did not like the box office of this movie for some reason. I'm not sure why. Yes, for some reason they liked. By the way, the box office for U.S. currency was like $5 million. And here's the thing about this movie I just watched. This movie is like 9 minutes shorter than Prison of the Sky. And because apparently this movie didn't do too well what A1 Pictures wanted, that's the rumor of the reason why that the movie because of the movie, and probably because the movie didn't do well financially and critic wise, that's probably the reason why that they switched studios. Yes, because of the reception of the previous movie. This movie was, I would say this movie was better. It had good story, good pacing, good music. Because Seven Deadly Sins for an anime has got one of the best musical scores of any anime I've ever seen. The dubbing is fantastic. I think every single voice actor, they do a great job. Like, the dub is not the problem. As far as I've heard, I've heard no issues with the dub. Some you might be curious though. Of the major dub cast of Seven Deadly Sins, who have I officially met in person? Well, I have met Hawk. I have met Elaine. And I've met Escanor. Yes, I have. Escanor I met a couple times. My first Caliber in 2019. Last time I met it was actually 2021. I met Christina V in 2019 as well. I actually met King's actor just this year, Max Millman, who's also the voice of Silent One Punch Man. Well, that was another show where it switched studios and it got flack for its dip in animation. Yes, Seven Deadly Sins and One Punch Man got the same exact thing. People didn't like their seasons, the animation, because they thought it was a step down from the previous season. I didn't have a problem with that. I thought it was fine. And despite the problems that season 3 had, and I've seen this to several people about season 4 of the show, that, in my honest opinion, because the show was supposed to come out during the year 2020, but COVID hit, so they delayed it by a year. And in my honest opinion, if you look at season 4 compared to season 3, animation, it looks a lot better. It doesn't feel rushed per se. And I think the delay actually helped it. Yes, in my honest opinion, the delay helped season 4. Because season 4 is going to be the final season of the show because the manga ended. And now, of course, basically got this movie done. But I've liked this movie 30 minutes now. And I should probably watch the next movie, which is going to be a 2-parter, Rise of Edinburgh. Yep. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do hit the dislike button. Okay, next video. Bye.